Hello, dear level 11 students. Today we're going to do this short video tutorial about quantifiers. So here in this table, which was taken from face-to-face intermediate Cambridge University Press, we have three different categories. So we have quantity, right, or plural countable nouns and uncountable nouns. So when I have nothing, I could use for plural countable nouns not any or no. Not any or no for uncountable nouns too. Let's observe some examples here. We have not rubbish to throw away, or there are not any bottles of wine in the cupboard. So as you see, we're using not any or no for countable or uncountable nouns when we have nothing, right? When the quantity is zero. When we have a small quantity, so we want to use these expressions here, these quantifiers. Not many, hardly any, several, a few. Not much, a bit of, hardly any, and a little for uncountable nouns. Okay? So we want to see some examples here. I've got a few friends who recycle. This a few means that, well, not many of my friends recycle, right? And there is a bit of pasta left if you're hungry. That means that, well, there is not a lot of pasta, right? There is a bit of pasta. So there's little quantity of pasta. You could also use the other, well, expressions that we have here. You just have to take into account certain differences. For example, with plural countable, we can use hardly any. And with uncountable nouns, we can also use hardly any. However, a few cannot be used with uncountable nouns, right? A few is exclusively used with countable nouns. A bit of and a little, on the other hand, are only used for uncountable nouns, all right? A bit of milk, a bit of water, a little tea, etc. Now, when we have a large quantity, we use a lot of, lots of, loads of, or plenty of, and we can use the same expressions for uncountable nouns. So let's see some examples here. There are lots of students who love Kahoot, right? There are lots of students who love Kahoot. That means that I have many students who actually love that game. And there's lots of beer in the fridge. Loads of. So here I'm using an uncountable noun, which is beer, right? And I'm using the quantifier loads of. So as you observed here, they are the same for a large quantity. When we have more than we want, we say too many or too much for uncountable nouns. For example, I have too many books in my backpack. It's too heavy. Or I have got too much to do, right? And if we have less than we want, so not enough for either countable or uncountable nouns. The correct quantity is expressed in both cases with enough. Please repeat the pronunciation of the word enough. Enough. Now, a couple of tips here. Not many, hardly any, or not much have a negative meaning, right? Right here, not many, hardly any, and not much have a negative meaning. Several, a few, a bit of, and a little have a positive meaning, right? And several is usually more than a few, right? Several is not when you have a few items. Finally, when we have some, any, much, and many, this is a topic that you guys already know. We usually use some in positive sentences. For example, I found some coffee, right? I'm going to have some milk. I need to drink some water. And we usually use any in negative sentences and in questions. There isn't any sugar. Is there any milk? Is there any water? Is there any wine? Etc. We don't usually use much or many in positive sentences. There is a lot of. So instead of using much, we use a lot. There is a lot of stuff here for positive sentences. Much and many tend to be used in negative sentences. I've got lots of old books instead of I've got many old books, so I've got lots of old books. Some tips: we use some and any with plural countable nouns, biscuits, beans, etc., and uncountable nouns, pasta, milk, etc. So some and any can be used for both countable and uncountable. Finally, we often use some in questions with would you like. For example, would you like some coffee? Would you like some milk? could you like some water? So thanks very much for your attention, and I hope you have understood this interesting topic. Bye bye.